Hi, my name is Isabella Johnston, and today's Intern Whisper tip of the week is when recruiting multi-generational workers, you have an excellent opportunity to build a high-performing team with a wide range of experiences and skills. As you structure project teams, you should also take advantage of the opportunity to bring together staff members with complementary attributes. This creates an environment where employees from different age groups can easily share knowledge and gain new perspectives that enrich their work lives. So you want to try peer and reverse mentoring. It is a two-way relationship that allows the younger generations to share their fresh perspectives and how they use technology, and older generations can share their wisdom that comes from having the history of what has happened in that company. These two generations can share mutual insights, and that benefits the whole company. So by encouraging teamwork and sharing knowledge, you can build a high-quality team that's ultimately more valuable than the sum of its individual parts. All right, so welcome to the Intern Whisper. The show is all about the future of work and innovation. And on this week's show, we have Sam and Gina Mitchell. They are a mother and son duo I met at PodFest. They're awesome. I'm really excited to have them here as a guest. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Very good. So I always kick off the show with 5 words that you use to describe you. So Sam, you said fun was one of your words. Why do you say that you are a fun person? Because I've only met you that one time, but I would definitely use that word.
Well, because according to people, they like to say I'm just the type of person who rather enjoy life and make everything fun, and whether you can take it serious or not, or whether it has to be serious or not.
Mm-hmm. What was your second word? You want to lead with that one? You said crazy. I'm going to assume that's like in all the best possible ways that a person can be crazy.
For the most part, yes. Sometimes what I do is considered crazy. Sometimes what I do is considered like, whoa, a lot of outgoing, bubbly personality, but then it wasn't always that. So I figured I'm going to use that now and make up for the times I didn't have it back when I was 4 years old.
Gotcha. What do you think was the craziest thing you ever did? I will tell you something I did if you want to share yours.
That's a good question.
Okay, I'll tell you one. I'll lead, and that'll give you some thinking time. So I was in high school, and one of my friends dared me to sneak out in the middle of the night. And I went, okay, I'll go do that. I sneak out, and it's a neighborhood. And I'm like walking around waiting for my friend to come. I was not a kid that got in trouble. I didn't do drugs, drink, smoke, nothing. You know, I was a good kid, did sports, all of that stuff. Anyway, long story short, I walk around when this is the most boring thing in the world. I found no joy in it. So I went, I think that was kind of crazy.
I mean,
I have stories like that.
Yeah, well, we all do.
I guess for me, oh gosh, and then why not? Jumping off the diving board, open first,
Oh, yeah.
and it doesn't feel good when you have a jump.
Oh my gosh. How high up were you?
Not high at all.
Let's just say that it was a hospital visit because he had jumped and did the splits and hit and came up and went, oh, and I could tell just by the look on his face. But then, you know, he said, oh, I'm fine. And we swam more. But then when we got home, he was like, oh, okay, this is really bad. So I think you were 12.
Yeah.
When that happened. So
you know what? 12-year-olds, we all do really silly things, don't we? Yeah.
Sure.
So you said smart.
Yep. Well, I may not be the most I made you diving board. I made you splits off a diving board. I can write and do all the English material that you need. I can't do math for the life of me.
You know what? I struggled with that also. You're not alone.
Yeah. But I can write really well and just play around with words.
Yeah. And you have a podcast. We're going to talk about that in a little bit also.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's the next one. You're a podcaster. So how did you get into podcasting?
Well, it started when I joined my high school's media club, and ever since then, I fell in love with it. And after that, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own. She didn't know what it was, obviously, but I said, well, I'm doing it, period. And that was when Autism Rocks and Rolls was born.
Oh, when was that? Were you said high school, so you started it in high school?
Yeah, I did Thundercast, though, and then I turned 17 and started Autism Rocks and Rolls. I got a roadcaster for my birthday.
Ah, Thundercats. That's a cartoon, right?
Yeah, it could be one. I think it's Thundercats.
Mm-hmm.
What it's called is what I've heard. But Thundercast was the school's podcast we did.
Oh, okay. Okay. I gotcha. The last one is an entrepreneur.
Yep. It started after I got sponsors, really, and started with $70 in a PayPal. And after the sponsors, we did more and more things, and it turned into having over $1,000 in a PayPal account.
No, $70.
Oh, $70. No, it started with $70 in a PayPal account.
It started with 70 and we have a lot more now, but yeah, $70 in a PayPal account is all we really had to work with. And it took a long time. It took about 3 years, I guess, 3-4 years to build it to where it is now. And with the nonprofit, we are a team. He does the podcast side. I really don't have a whole lot of say in that. I help him a lot, but as far as the nonprofit goes, he is our executive director, and we have a board of 4 now. Unfortunately, we had one that had to resign. And then I'm president of the corporation, so I tackle a lot of the nonprofit things. And I guess it was about 5 months ago, the board put Sam on payroll. And that was a really exciting day for us. But now I just need to get on there.
You do need to get on there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you knew this, but like offline, we'll talk about it. But I have worked in nonprofit for 26 years, set them up, organized them, set up strategic fundraising plans. I have a certificate in nonprofit management, and I used to write grants. I'm not a big fan of pursuing grants because they honestly can be a thing that people depend on, and they're just supposed to be a seed. So you have to think about sustainable development for sure. But I'll talk to you guys about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Gina, your 5 words.
Yes. My first word was mother, because that is the number one thing that I do that trumps everything.
Mhm.
Everything is, that's my number one thing in life. That's why I'm here. I mean, that's
How many
what
kids
I do.
do you have?
Just Sam.
Sam is the lucky man.
One of them.
Yeah.
Some days I consider it, some days I don't.
Yeah.
You know what? Again, we're all the same in that area. So.
Yeah. I mean, we have a really good relationship. If we didn't, then we wouldn't be able to do this, but we do butt heads, and we butt heads pretty hard sometimes. And
yeah, I think our skulls have bled a couple times.
I think a lot of it is because we are wired. We are a lot alike, and then that really can, but we know each other really well, and he's a really good business partner. So mother's number one for me. And then my second one was wife. I've been married to my husband for 23 years.
Wow, congratulations.
And we've gotten through some things that a lot of people probably wouldn't. And that I love them both very, very much. But what was my third one? I don't remember.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Opinionated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I come from.
I question though if it's defensive. I'll be honest with you on that one.
Yeah, they say that. My husband and
I'm sorry. I love you. It's not to be mean.
My husband and my son say that I'm defensive, and I am. I mean, I'm not denying that. I get very defensive if I feel, especially if I feel like somebody is making me feel dumb, or if I'm kind of being undermined. I don't like that. That will really upset me. But sometimes they're not doing that at all, and I take it that way. So, but I grew up in a pretty opinionated family. My dad is, I'm a lot like my dad. He's very vocal, very opinionated. And so I feel like it's important, especially, excuse me. I feel like it's very important, especially for women, to be able to
Get their
take care of
voice out there.
themselves. Absolutely. It's critical because there's been times in history and there's still places all over the world where women don't have a voice. And I think that's really, really important. So I try to kind of instill that in Sam so that when he, gets married or he has a girlfriend, that he allows her to be who she is and to stand independently. So I feel really strongly about that.
I agree with you. It's really important to know each person, to know exactly who they are and what they have to bring to any relationship, friendship, marriage, business, whatever. Because, those people will come and go in our lives. They're here for seasons, one time, can be for the long haul, but, at the end of the day, we're all gonna not be here at some point in time.
Exactly.
So you got to be able to know how to take care of yourself and have your voice heard. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
You said strong, and you meant mentally strong. So how so? Because you live with two men?
Yeah, I know. And that right there, that should answer your question. I have
Yeah.
to be strong. No, they're really good. My husband and I really take care of each other. We kind of have, I don't know, we're both very, very independent people, and we both have our things and we both have, our space and, but at the end of the day, we come together and we support each other. So, but I feel like I've had to be strong. That's what, there's always a saying that sometimes you don't know the strength that you have, until you have to use it. And so when I grew up, my family is really, really close still. I'm, very close to my dad, my mom.
Yeah, we probably see our family, like your side of the family, a lot of the time. Are you okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
they live down the road from us, so we see them often, my side of the family, and then my husband's side of the family lives like the other way. So we're all kind of right here together. But when I grew up, we had a lot of love in our house. That was never an issue, but I lived in pretty extreme poverty for until I was about a teenager. And so that was hard. And as a kid, I didn't really know that we were, but as I got older, I understood that, times were really, really hard. And then as I got older, I was diagnosed with MS when I was 28. And luckily, it's been in remission for almost 20 years. But I still have some symptoms, but it's a pretty mild form. Sam was diagnosed with a peanut allergy. He was diagnosed with autism, ADHD. This all happened within about a 3-year period.
Wow.
So we were thrown some things. We were thrown some things that took some strength, to get through and to deal with. So, I've battled my weight my whole life. And I don't know, a lot of it is pretty typical, that we're all human and we all struggle with things, but I've had to be pretty strong. I've had to be pretty strong a few times in my life. So
Yeah.
that's what I feel. That's why I feel like I am a strong woman.
Yeah. And I think with that strength, you mentioned sensitive as your last word. And I think that anybody that is really honest about being strong, they have to be sensitive. They have to realize that, oh, I may have just hurt somebody's feelings, or, oh, you know what? I have to pay attention to the people around me so that you're more self-aware and aware of others.
Well, and I think too, a lot of times as I've gotten older, I've come to realize a lot of times if I'm angry, I've learned that anger is only like a secondary emotion. Nobody is just angry. It always starts, with something else.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I realize I'll get my feelings hurt, and I get upset and I get really angry, and somebody will say, my husband will be like, why are you so angry? Like, why are you so mad? And I've come to be able to say, because you hurt my feelings, or because you embarrassed me, or because I'm, not feeling well, or so it always starts with something else. So that's what I've understood as the years have gone by.
Yeah. Most people don't realize that. But yeah, I think anger is, I agree with you. It comes from being hurt, for
Or
whatever reason.
something, yeah.
Mhm. Very insightful. Well, thanks for sharing those. That's a really quick way our guests get to know more about you. But Sam, you went to school. So what has your journey been like going from college to where you are now?
Oh, I'm still in college, so the
Okay.
college aspect's not over. But I think it started with college is just getting the grade, and I like people mind their own business, whereas high school they didn't.
Yeah, well, they don't care as much about what you're doing in high school. Yeah, those high school years, middle and high school years, they're rough for everybody. So what's your
Yeah,
major?
business administration for now, but I'm switching to, in sense, hopefully to major in media or entrepreneurship
And digital marketing.
and digital marketing.
Yeah. Well, those are all super, super good. I can tell you I was an English major, and the best thing that when I teach, when I was teaching as an adjunct, I would tell anybody, go take business classes if as your electives, if you're liberal studies, because you're either going to run a department, you're going to have to put together a budget, you're going to have to do these kind of things no matter where you are in life, because I know, Gina, you're also a teacher. So you could be the department head. That means you got to manage your people. You've got to be able to put together a budget. You have to have some basic principles of accounting and, potentially maybe finance. You're always about estimates, right? Because grades are percentages. So we have to deal with statistics and estimates and everything that's in there. And people don't realize how much we really need to have those to me, those should be the core of anything that we do. So Sam, I'm really glad to hear that you're focused on business administration that supports entrepreneurship, or you're going in that track, but digital media, digital marketing, good stuff there. I can tell you some courses that you might take for fun, for free, that can help you in that area also. Some of them are like Google Analytics, to better understand, what's going on with your YouTube channel and all of that. And then there is also HubSpot. That's a customer relation management tool, and they have excellent courses on anything that you're trying to do in social. And they also launched a podcast set of courses.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's something we look at.
Yeah, especially the Google Analytics, because I try to understand that stuff and I don't think I do very well.
Well, they have 4 levels. And so one is the beginners, like I'm halfway through the beginner, but it's rigorous and it gives you a certificate, true street value. I can attest to that. The same holds true with HubSpot, their courses, all of their courses. Not all of them, but a majority of their courses do come with certificates that will definitely support what you would be learning as theory in the classroom for sure.
Nice. Very nice.
So you've got a podcast, Sam. Tell us about your podcast.
All right, so the podcast itself is called Autism Rocks and Rolls, and it is about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. I've had big guests on the show, such as Dr. Temple Grandin and professional wrestler Mick Foley.
I don't know those people. Who is Mick
Look them up;
Foley?
they're phenomenal.
Well, tell me about Mick Foley. He's a professional wrestler.
Yep, probably he's labeled as the hardcore legend because of all the bumps he's taken.
He also has a son on the spectrum.
Oh, okay.
And the story is great. Sam, he's been Sam's favorite wrestler for a long time. And because Sam loves WWE wrestling, absolutely loves it, knows everything about it. But through podcasting, he got to meet Mick Foley, kind of like his idol, through Zoom. And then we asked Mick to be on the show, and he was. And then he's got to meet him a couple times in person.
Yep.
And Dr. Temple Grandin, you'll have to look her up. She's incredible. She's probably the biggest autism advocate in the world. And she's a professor of animal science at Colorado State University, but she is, she's in the cattle industry. She's designed cattle handling systems. Because she has autism, she's able to, think in pictures. And we've had the privilege of meeting her. We actually spent 2 days with her in Canada,
Ate breakfast with her.
ate breakfast with her. She's
Phenomenal.
she's phenomenal. She's helping me, kind of coaching me with the book that we're writing. And we've become friends with her, and she's an incredible human being.
Oh,
So
wow. I'm going to connect with her. She sounds awesome.
She's there's a movie.
But I'm going to warn you, she picks and chooses. Let's put it that way.
Well, she's a very private person.
I was going to say private. Yeah.
She's a very private person, and she's trying to think. She's very blunt, and
Which we love.
I love it. I mean,
That's not my favorite trait in her.
she's amazing. She's an amazing lady. So yeah, you'll have to look her up.
I already did while you were telling me. I went, oh, she's the first thing that popped up, and I'm on her website page now too. I honestly respect the fact that people are just like direct. I sit here and I go, I will be very direct with you all, anybody that works with me. And I said, I generally don't hold back. I read the room though. I know to read the room for sure. So anyway, there's a preface that you can say is so like, Sam, I'm not really going to do this, Sam. I'm just pretending. But Sam, you know what? There's something I want to tell you about. And this is kind of maybe hard to hear, but I think I should be a really good friend and tell you what you need to hear. Maybe not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Like I start with something like that, and then people go, okay, because they can hear it in your voice and they know what you really care about them. Anyway, that was just pretend, Sam. It wasn't for real.
I figured.
Yeah. You were reading the room right. Very good. Very good.
Yep.
So anyway, so you bring on these different guests. You've had celebrities. That's amazing. What else do you do to tell people about autism?
Oh, we try to host events. You'd be happy to more than welcome to attend when it comes out, when the news comes out and when we figure out the details. But we do events and let me think, when is it? In September, well, we have booth space sometimes. We went to a local wrestling show Sunday where I got to commentate, but I also had to have a booth.
Mhm.
And I also get to go to help out with one of our sponsors. They host an opening day, and they're hosting the theme of autism, which is really cool.
Mhm.
And they also have a special needs night, which is phenomenal. And it's just an awesome time. We get work done, but everyone has a blast, including us. But what our big event that we do is that I want to tell you about is you're more than happy to come if you want to fly out from Florida to Indiana, is our gala, which is autism basis. But last year the theme was success, and how we get there is about success. And basically that my view is owning a limo and getting out of bed cashes each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
we actually, speaking of Dr. Grandin, she was our keynote speaker that
Oh,
year.
wow. That's a big
Was
deal.
able to do that virtually from Colorado, and we're hoping to get her in person in April. But yeah, that's like what he was saying. I'll kind of chime in with the nonprofit side of it. But yeah, our biggest like revenue generator are the events that Sam hosts. And we have one coming up in September. There's a local pumpkin patch that has become very, very popular. Yeah, I was just going to kind of fill in the holes.
Oh.
But we have a big event, and there's going to be live music and hay rides and corn maze, petting zoo, scavenger hunt, Jeep rides. So we have that coming up. And then, Sam gets to travel some and gets to speak. And so he's really putting his mission out there. And it's really a beautiful thing, really sitting back and watching, what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. It sounds really good. I don't know about being able to get there to Indiana. If I am, I'm going to schools. That's for sure, to get schools to sign up on my platform. Fun fact, this week I am, tomorrow I go to New York for the day. I'm going to visit IBM, Morgan Stanley. I'm speaking with a national law firm. All of these groups have some type of women's they support women in business and
Nice.
entrepreneurs. So, I've been talking with them for a little while. So my goal is to hopefully get a partnership with them, visit Cornell University, and then I jump on a fast train, go over to Boston, and then Thursday and Friday I'm in Boston. So it's going to be a busy week, but I've
Right.
got meetings set up with Harvard, with MIT, with Northeastern, with BU, Boston University, and then some other potential investor groups. So we'll see how it all goes.
That's cool. It's in April, so I do know that.
Yeah, we
April of
don't
next
have the
year.
date yet. It's last year we planned it on Easter weekend, and
That was a bad
it was
idea.
it was still a huge success. We still, I mean, but I think it did definitely hinder. So next year we won't do that.
Yeah, no, holidays are not a good time, or Mother's Day, like any of those. Like my college, Rollins College, they always do graduation on Mother's Day. And I go, that can be, maybe a mom considers that a gift, seeing her
I
kid
don't know.
graduate. I don't know. Maybe she'd
That
rather,
could work.
Yeah,
it can
but
work.
then as a mom, I'm thinking I would, the mom still, or a parent would still have to, align things with parties and stuff. So yeah, that's not a very good present.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it should be a different time than Mother's Day, but not every mom is happy to see their kid graduate, because then it's like, oh no, they're leaving the nest. So yeah,
That's true.
it's mixed feelings for sure. Anyway, so tell us about your TEDx talk, Sam. What was your topic? How did you apply? Where did you do it?
So that was called Sold Structure, and it was about why autistic people needed structure in their life. I think a couple people nominated me, and I think I finally got chosen after those 2 nominations. We had to do it virtually because of COVID, but it's still like considered a TED Talk, and it's really cool. It's over at least 10 minutes, but it's definitely one to hear.
I will. And you know what? We're going to, if with your permission, I don't know, we probably have to ask Ted. I'm on the TEDx Orlando leadership team here, and we can't go and take snippets and just put it in the podcast, but because it's officially TED property, we have to ask.
We know the lady well enough. We can talk to her about that.
Well, she's here, Peter. I'm done. She, well, we'll have to do something different, and you're gonna have to just do that. Thank you. She, since it's a TEDx, there's TEDx's everywhere, but yeah, the lady the one out of Bloomington, Indiana, she's great. She's the one that really coached Sam and helped him. So
yeah, but they don't get the discretionary. It goes all the way to the Big TED, the Big
Exactly.
TED organization. They make that call. Anyway, we'll figure out how to pull that one in there. Let's talk about misperceptions that people have about autism, because here's an interesting thing that happened. My college, Rollins College, there is a student that is nonverbal. She went through college. She graduated from this liberal studies program, extremely, bright, intelligent, but she doesn't speak. And she wrote out the valedictorian address that she wanted to have shared, and it was read on her behalf. But people have a misperceptions. And so let's talk about maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 of those, and you guys can, bounce off of each other for sure. What do you think is a common misperception that people have about individuals with autism that is not true?
That we're bedridden, that we can't do anything, and the low functioning ones don't have any talents. Try again, because they have something to give. Where that's giving hugs and high fives every day.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Was there's a big misconception, I think, of what success is when it comes to people with disabilities. And I think that if people hear the word autism, verbal or nonverbal, there's this kind of a conception, or
A stigma,
like
almost
a
even.
stigma. It's a perception of they can't do anything, or they can't do the things that I do, because, and really the truth is they might be able, and they probably can do things that a lot of other people can't do because of how their brain is wired. So I feel like that it definitely becomes an ability, because there's things that Sam can do that I can't do, and there's things that I can do that he can't do. So it's just all about being human. It's just all about being a human being, and everybody, like he said, has something to offer. Everybody. every human being on the planet has something to offer. So that's really what I think. I agree with Sam, is the biggest misconception.
I would definitely chime in on that back end of it. We have somebody that's has autism that's in my company also, and he prefers to remain, private about that, and that's okay. With that said, he is one of the things that I've seen about many, and I don't think it's a misperception. I think it's actually a great quality, is that they're very literal. And when you say something, they take you seriously. So they're also their ethics meter is off the charts.
Mhm.
And when I'll say something, he will go and say, you can't say that. That's not right. And I go, no, I was kidding. I'm really
Yeah.
sorry. I did not mean to, whatever. And so one of the things we played was two truths and a lie. And he
Oh,
said, no,
yeah.
I'm not playing that. No, that's a lie. That's bad. And I
They
said,
are
well,
not rule breakers, that's for sure.
they will not break the rules. And so I know if I'm looking for somebody to keep me in check, that's the person I go to and say, now, if you see that I say something or I do something that's not right, you call
Give him
me.
the tap on the shoulder, be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
we do
he
that a
won't, he'll
lot.
stop the meeting and go, oh, you can't do that. That's not right. You can't say that. I go, okay.
We do a lot of, and this is, like you said, I know we're moving around a lot and we're trying to figure out how we're going to sit, but at his old computer, we kind of had a system where if I wasn't on camera, I would be off, and I would help him with taps. Like, he would, if he needed to kind of move on to the next question, if
or
we
next
had
topic.
next topic, we had a limited amount of time, I would tap his leg, or if he would, say something, I don't know, it works for us, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
totally.
That is super good to have little cues that are hidden that people don't always see. So the other thing that I feel that people have a misperception about is, aside from, they're not smart, which is so not true. So not true. They're extremely, I think they're unicorns, honestly. They're so incredibly and brilliant. They're a bit of Einstein, they're a bit of a unicorn, they're a bit of, everything that's magical and wonderful. And I sit here and I go, man, they are so lucky. Because
Mhm.
like they're really very honest people too. And I feel like I'm stereotyping, but I hope it's not perceived in a negative way for all of our listeners, because honestly, having people that are autistic on your team is only going to make the rest of the people in your organization kind of sit up and play right, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I, even as a teacher, when I have, special needs kids in my class, or I have people on the autism spectrum, just what they bring to the class is incredible. The conversations we can have, especially in English, is phenomenal. And I think this is really, really cool. But the kids know about what I do outside the classroom with advocacy work and autism work. And the kids that are on the spectrum in the 8th grade tend to, they're kind of drawn towards me because they know that, my beliefs, and they know about Sam, and they have that comfort level, and she will understand me to a point. And maybe not totally, but I can be myself around her. She won't judge me. And I've had some beautiful relationships with my students, because of that. So
And you gravitate towards the ones who aren't in the best conditions.
yeah, I do. I gravitate towards, and the kids that maybe have a hard home life, or maybe have just some things happening in their life. Those are the kids that I love. I love all of them, but those kids and I have a really special bond, by the time the year's over. So that's true.
So Sam, another, I think this could be I don't know if it's a misperception or whatever, but I know you're going to be able to set me straight, is being heightened sensitivity to touch, and maybe they don't want to be hugged.
And that's true for some, but that's not for me. I'm the opposite. I want to be hugged.
Big hugger. I remember when I met you, you're a big hugger.
Yeah, I like touch. Honestly, I think I'm crazy insane when it comes to that. I like the head scratches, back scratches.
He does. He's a very well, but then there are some.
But then there are some who are like,
Yeah,
nope.
go ahead.
Well, you have to
Like,
tell them, you
nope.
have to warn them. That's what, they'll tell me is, no, you need to,
Yeah.
ask me first so I,
Yeah.
they can prepare for
Yeah,
it.
and some are like, if you ask, you're good, but then some are like, do not touch, or I throw you down, basically.
Yeah.
But that is something that he had to be.
That depends on the person in my eyes.
Yeah, we had to teach him that.
Mhm.
When he was little, we would be in Walmart and he would just see someone that he kind of gravitated towards and he was like, I'm gonna go hug them. And we had to say, well, that's not really an appropriate thing to do. And then he would want to give his teachers like 70 hugs a day. And we had to work on, I think one teacher had a limit. She said, you can give me like 2 hugs a day. That's it. When your hugs are gone, they're gone. And then some didn't care. Some hugged him every time he, passed that's me. I hug my students all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were certain things that had to be taught.
So the last one, perception that I'm curious about is, and I go to Sam, he's the source, but I really appreciate, Gina, your insight also as an educator and filling in those gaps too. So Sam, what do you think about things that are like bad words or things that people maybe shouldn't watch?
Okay, yep, I figured that'd be going into that. So with me, I mean, I'm with the sailor mouth. I'll admit it, we're all sailor mouths. Oh, we are. I'm not gonna lie.
That's true.
See, so
I tell people, just so you know, Sam, and this is for Gina more. I tell people I'm a Jesus girl, but I have a potty mouth. So like,
oh, don't worry, we have friends like that. That are Jesus girls, but are potty mouths.
yeah.
But me, I'm like, the only word you're not gonna say is the R word around me. Then I blow up. But you can say anything else. I mean, I feel like I don't get why they always say the F word worse. I'm like, man, I think the R word's way worse than the F word. Because I say the F word, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Words
Well,
only have as much power as we give them.
right. And I'll kind of chime in a little bit just from a different perspective too, is
You're not allowed to. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
we've had to work, and we still work on this. We've had to work really hard with Sam about being appropriate in certain situations. In Sam's mind, and I love this about him, he's a very strong-willed young man, and he didn't have a chance. I mean, with his parents and grandparents, we all are. I mean, that's just how Sam was raised and who he became. But, when you are with, like in a classroom, or if you're with my husband's parents, they're a little bit more conservative, than my parents. And so he still thinks sometimes, why can't I just be me and act the way I want to act all the time?
I call it behaving, kind of. And it's not like bad behaving, it's just limited behaving. I don't do that.
But people that aren't on the spectrum get those cues. They get those social cues. Like you said, you can read a room. Sam cannot read a room. And he tries and he's better, but it's just part of it. Like he to him, going into a church or going down to my parents' house kind of is the same thing. It definitely isn't.
No, I don't agree.
So, but that's,
I'm being honest with you. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just
sure.
honest with you.
I think that's how he really wants it to be, but life is just not like that. So that has been a struggle.
Well, there's a reason for that. I believe that, well, if you don't like it, there's a door right there. You have the right to leave. You don't have to sit there. There's nothing stating that you have to go to church Sunday. No one's telling you that. No one is literally saying you go to church every Sunday. Maybe your parents are, but no one's telling you. You're the one making that choice. So if you aren't comfortable, there's other things you can do. Go away from me. I'm not going to be offended. Or go out, leave. You're not hurting anyone.
But that's just the thing. If you go into someone else's area and go into their church, that isn't
Their
your
house, their rules.
They're not leaving.
Then
You're leaving.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I'm A-okay with that.
Right.
Yeah. Their house, when you enter, whenever we go into anybody else's, whether it's a business or a
Absolutely.
nonprofit or a church or whatever, it's their house, their rules. So,
And I get that,
Yeah.
but if you're not comfortable with who I am, you have the right to give me the boot, and I'm not gonna be mad about it. It is what it is. Nothing personal, it's just business.
Well, I think he's gonna have to, unfortunately, Sam's almost 20 and an adult. We don't have guardianship over him. He, makes a lot of his own choices. He knows that he needs help and he receives that help, which I'm very thankful for because we all need help, But unfortunately, I think it's gonna have to be, and I've told him this before, it's gonna have to be a learning experience for him. He's going to have to, we can tell him and help him all we can, but sometimes they just have to go experience it. And then if he's ever in a situation where he's uncomfortable, of course, I'll always help him, but that's what it might take is for him to learn, that way. So that's just kind of a human
That's
thing.
just human thing. Yeah, I agree with you. That's not specific to any particular
Right.
type of person, whether it's men, women, age, abilities, disabilities, and everybody has a disability. We just don't always see them is the thing. And,
Exactly.
on the world of social media, people think that maybe that is somebody's life, but nothing is perfect. Nothing.
No,
Yeah,
my goodness.
but there are cases where I do agree. I mean, I agreed with something the other day. He said I should have posted it. I looked at it, I thought, yeah, you're probably right. And I got rid of it.
Yeah, he I don't even know what it was, but
I know what it
well,
was.
don't say it.
I'm not, don't
Don't say
worry.
it. Yeah, don't say it.
He posted something online and my husband said, Sam, you need to delete that. And he said, okay, yeah, I understand what you mean. I probably shouldn't have posted that. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not saying that you always disagree with me, but it is
I know. But if I did disagree with him, it wouldn't have happened, is my point.
right. It is a challenge. It is a challenge sometimes for both of us, not just me, but for Sam too. So, but I think we do pretty good.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a minute just to acknowledge our sponsors.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat5 Studios.
And we're back to the second half of our show with Sam and Gina Mitchell, the dynamic duo from Autism Rocks. So I want to just welcome them on back in. And we're going to be wrapping up our show where we talk about the future of what do you think it's going to look like in 2030? So, Sam, I've seen that there's a lot of games that are coming out now for individuals that have autism, but there's also some serious games that are out there to help people learn more about autism for maybe those that may not have it. So what do you think about that? Do you have any
Well, I'm
thoughts?
gonna chime with the speaking gig, sort of start off with that. So ASSA is what we went to in Canada, assistive special education technology. It was programs on those apps who will help them out the spectrum, like apps and autism going together. There's gonna be more of that in 2030.
Oh, yeah.
Probably it'll get to the point where that will be the answer for them,
Mhm.
and they'll show them like this is what you do. They'll know there won't be much doctors around. Possibly.
Maybe. I think there's always going to be doctors.
I do too.
Yeah.
But they might be represented. in
They
a
might be
different-
represented
in a different
virtually.
way. Yeah, well, they're represented virtually now.
Holograms, we'll have more of
Yeah.
that, but virtual reality, it's definitely here in different ways. I work out of a
Absolutely.
place called Orlando Game Space. I always give them a shout out. And it is a co-working space for game companies. And one of my other companies is Cat5 Studios, which produces this show and also created our game Intern Pursuit, which is on Steam, little shameless plug. But the thing is, I really want to produce some serious games that are helping individuals that have autism, that help really to raise awareness, but also some for cybersecurity, just so we can all be on the same page of how we should be protecting, data for sure. And although they're completely different, serious games are about learning. Sam, do you play with Duolingo by chance? Are you learning a language?
No, I don't. I don't learn languages. I tried that once, it didn't work out well.
So Duolingo, it's DUO. It's a little green owl. It's cartoonish, but it's a way that people can pick up languages, anything from like Navajo to which can be kind of a little bit obscure at times, to very common languages. So if you're ever so inclined, it is totally gamified. It is a lot of fun. I'm at 15% proficiency, so yay.
Hey, what is it called again?
Duolingo, Duolinga. It's got a little green owl on it, and it's a whole lot of fun, and you're learning, pick Japanese, whatever language you want to learn, they've got it.
That is neat. I may check that out.
Yeah,
you can go ahead. I'm out on that one.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to be. So robots, what do you think we're going to see? Where do you think we'll see more robots? Do you have an opinion about robots?
Well, we're right. Well, my husband's working kind of with robots, but
Your husband or my husband?
your husband. Oh yeah,
Your mom's
Yeah, your husband, everybody.
Your dad.
Yeah, my dad was working with robots, so I could definitely see more of that in the future. Or it could
Your dad
be
do? Back it up a little bit. What does your dad do? Robots.
he's an electrician.
Okay. So
He works at a car plant in Indiana, General Motors.
so the
And-
robots that put stuff together.
He controls the laptop that controls the arms. And so at his particular plant, they make transmission casings and something else. So there's lots of like melted aluminum. It's a pretty, I mean, it's not a real safe place to work, but
It's kind of cool though, I will admit.
it's
It
a
is
really
cool.
neat place. He
Yeah.
controls, the robots break down and he fixes them.
Yeah.
So
But as he's gotten older, he's how can I word this?
he's ready to retire.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. He's ready to retire.
Yeah. Is that something that you think you want to do, is build robots? Maybe not down where your dad is, but do you have like robots that you're
I don't have the brain for it.
I don't
I have the
know. It's
interest.
kind of like Legos. You can still put them together.
I just don't, I don't.
No, I've never been with that, like creativity. Like I create certain aspects of it, but creating like slides and coasters of all that stuff, it's too much. Way too much.
Yeah, I'm just watching him grow up. He's never been.
Trying to enter engineering, trying to build a slide. I didn't build a slide. I'll build a dang swing set.
Yeah, he did. It's the mechanical. He's never really had an interest. I don't know if it's that he's just not good at it. It's just.
No, it's the fact that I don't understand it.
Yeah, but as far as like creativity, Sam thinks a lot in words. And so his creativity is definitely with words and on paper, and he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal writer.
Yeah, I don't draw though, but I can tell you about a slide. Be like, all right, here's what I want. The water slide of the century. So the century slide example.
Like a silica water slide.
Yeah, I'm trying to like
okay,
describe. Like I can describe it to you. Like this is what I want. I want to go up, make a drop, and then yada 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 yada.
Mhm. Yeah.
The drawing it, or now what's mechanical? What's the inches of it? 5.
Yeah. He's very like I said, very word based.
Mhm.
Very word based, and if he watches he had an 8th grade social studies teacher that he loved, and
Mr. Goodwin was phenomenal.
he was phenomenal. He unfortunately had to retire, but
You still talk to him, don't you?
he played tons of movies, and Sam resonated with that so much.
So, Sam, then if it's not building robots, do you write robot stories? And are you writing a book also?
We're not writing robot stories, but we do have a book. Yeah, it's about to get done actually. Journey. You could talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
But I'm thinking about writing my memoir once this book comes out. But go ahead and talk about Journey.
You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. So we have had I've had a book idea in my mind for a long time, but this book, and I can go ahead and tell you, it's called Journey, and it's based on a little girl who has autism, and it's going to be a children's book.
Mhm.
And so fortunately we have the support of Dr. Temple Grandin. She's been kind of helping me go in a particular direction with this book. But yeah, I'm on the last paragraph, and I can sit back and say it's on paper. It's not done, but it's there. Like we have it in front of us. So then I'm going to go through like an editing process. I have a publisher in mind and so forth. So we are very, very excited. I hope that we're able to really get it out there.
I signed up to work with somebody also to help write a book. And I feel that it's so helpful to have somebody that can say, here, just dictate this. They'll go and take all of the content, clean it up, and make it sound like you're the best well-spoken person in the world. Like, oh my God.
I know. I've talked to one of our board members. One of our board members owns a publishing company. Our vice president of our board. And so he's been giving me lots of tips. And it was funny because he said, just get some stuff on paper and then, send it to them and then they can rework it and they can do this and they can do that. And that really controlling side of me came out and I was like, but I don't want them to change it.
Yeah.
This is what I want to say and I don't want it changed. But he was like, okay, we'll work on that.
Yeah, I totally get it. I've told people before, I don't know when your birthdays are, but mine's in October. Either of you guys October babies?
No, mine's January.
We're July babies. Dad and I are.
You are.
Well, your birthday must be coming up, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
January.
Like the 2 and the 1 and boom.
21st.
When is it?
The 21st.
Of July.
Yes.
This month. So here you go, Sam. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
I'm not
birthday,
doing much.
dear Sam. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But I'm not doing much. I'm probably just going to take the grandparents to Roadhouse for the night, or Texas Roadhouse.
Okay. Anyway, okay. So going back to, what is your book? It's about the memoirs. Are you wanting to have something different than the book that your mom just shared? Or?
Yeah. So my idea is the only way I'm going to be able to tell my story is through creative parts of it. Like probably this will be, I didn't tell you this, but this mouth surgery will be on the memoir.
Oh yeah, it's been tough. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or playing playing a game by yourself in 4th grade. That's probably what we'll start with or get close to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He told me he went to the same school that I teach at. And so this is just kind of a resonating moment for both of us, I think. But after school, I teach in the middle school and we had to go over to the elementary school.
And I think I was in the middle school at that time.
I think you were too. But after school, I had to go get some paper or something. And he came with me. And we went into the old speech room where they had the board games kind of stacked against the wall.
Yeah.
And Sam pointed to a board game and said, oh, that's the board game that I played by myself every day. In what grade?
4th.
In 4th grade. And I stopped and I looked at him. I was like, why would you play a board game by yourself? This is like a multiple player game. And he said, because nobody would play with me. And I knew that was happening to a point, but in my mind, it was like, well, all kids kind of go through that. But I think it was pretty extreme, for Sam to be ostracized and people just not taking the time to understand him. So that is what he's saying is that is what we're going to start the book with. It's that particular occasion.
So Sam, you were mainstreamed in the classroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that requires having first the teacher is understanding what's going on and then, being able to help the other
And they were, but they can only do so much.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Because
nothing against teachers, it's just that you can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of under the radar stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that is. So let's see. My next question is, and we're closing in on the end of the show here. Best mentoring advice that you want to share with our listeners. So this is one of my favorite ones. Nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission.
Yeah. I think my words of wisdom is is what I always say. I think the world could be nice and not be stupid. Wouldn't we all get along?
Mm-hmm.
That is so true. But yeah, I really like that. I've thought about that before because there's been so many times in my life with my weight when I was growing up that I felt so inferior, but I allowed it. I allowed that to happen. And that's kind of the beautiful thing with Sam is he's always been such a self-advocate for himself. And I'm not saying I wasn't in his shoes as he grew up, as far as at school, but he handled things very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point when and you can talk about it, when you were a sophomore, when he just, something clicked in his mind that said, I'm not going to allow this anymore.
No, I was just done. I was fed up.
Yeah. And he became, what she's saying is, I think he thought, I'm not going to be intimidated anymore. I'm going to speak.
I had to watch a lot of wrestling to learn how not to be intimidating, though. Let's learn about that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the person that said that is Eleanor Roosevelt, you know, and I really took that to heart because I found it to be one of the best quotes, because it's kind of like when you go back to school, well, I'm made of rubber. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. So, and then there's biblical, you know, verses that you can pull into so that, you know, you can't listen to that stuff.
No.
Yeah. And you can't receive it. You have to absolutely not receive it at all. Well, we are here at the tail end of the show. So I want to say, just give me a minute. Thank you to our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios. Thank you to our production team, Christian Flowers and Daniel Conte. Our music is by Sophie Lloyd. And we also want to invite any employers and students, please sign up at Employers for Change at www.e4c.tech to learn how you can create diversity and inclusion in your workplace while skilling your people for the future. So I want to say, Gina and also Sam, thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to having you guys continuing our partnership and just raising awareness about autism and how it does rock. I agree.
Yes, it does. I just said that at the wrestling show when they allowed me to get up and talk.
And I got pinned.
Yeah, Sam commented at a wrestling show. And then when I was talking to the audience, I said, autism does rock and it does roll.
Yeah.
And that is for sure.
Yeah, it does rock and roll.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. And I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
You guys take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.